We are having a conversation about business. As you saw from the flyer, the topic is why businesses fail to grow despite working hard, the operations blind spot. Gashoka Kangata will be able to give us some insights. Why is it that we are working so hard? What is this that we are missing? What can we do better, right? Charles is a CEO of Signals Safety Consulting and will tell us more about himself as in this conversation. So to start us off, maybe I wish to welcome Charles to open his camera. So Charles, the listeners are hearing about you, seeing you for the first time. Could you perhaps tell us your journey from corporate finance professional to founder of 3 startups to a new CEO in Signals as consulting? How is that journey like? And maybe a little bit more about yourself.
Thank you very much, Lucy. I think this is a very good evening. I really like the conversation that has gone with the people saying their experience towards budgeting and all that. That is the reality of life. Yes, as you've just mentioned, Lucy, I think my entrepreneurial journey started way back when maybe I was in high school, and I think it's out of convenience when you realize maybe you're not able to get all the basic things that are within or you would wish. Then you start layering one chicken, and then one chicken leads to another, and then you realize there could be some money. Then you find yourself with 50 of them, then you're selling an egg, you're selling a chick, and all that. But yes, then when I finished my school, yes, I am an accountant by profession, having built my career in finance management all the way up to finance manager. And then that took about 12 years. But then I think still the DNA of entrepreneurship when I was still employed, I could never give the employer all my royalty. I actually started my first business, now the formal company, for tour and corporate transfers. And I think that is the business that pushed me out of the corporate employment. When I realized the fleet has become maybe 3, 4, 5, I felt, let me get out and try to push it forward. Yes, that was my first company. Then when I was now outside, I started the second company. But it was more of an extension of this because what I wanted to master transport business. So I went into PSV and I was able to be licensed, and my company now was able to serve both corporate and PSV industry. And in PSV industry, I had to look for some more partners who had a better understanding. And I think that was my first, my PSV is public service vehicle. In Kenya, we call it matatus. And that is where I realized, I think what had taken me up to that far would not have sustained me there, because I realized I'm dealing with different type of people, different types of partners, and all that. So that small company that I started off was in agribusiness, whereby now I started making sure that I can look for market for the value added small products. And then once again, I think I because of my desire to continue growing, I went back to transport once again. And still transport, I was not able to continue again because of the partnership issues. But all along, yes. So now, out of my experience, of course, now I had built a very good history about startups and also the operations of the business, combining my corporate experience and now what I have had run outside, what we may call open market businesses. And later on, I partnered with other consultants, and then I was able to now join hands and build up or start another journey of now building Signals Consulting. And I hope, Lucy, I have been able to answer that. That was my journey, or that has been my journey in entrepreneurship.
Wow,
Thank
fantastic.
you.
A beautiful journey that is quite encouraging, starting quite a number of businesses. And sounds like you're enjoying it. And in fact, this came all the way from when you were young. You were actually practicing this as you went along. But one question perhaps the viewers, listeners are asking, with all these many businesses, is it advisable for an entrepreneur to start many businesses? And what is your lesson when it comes to growing and building so many enterprises as an entrepreneur? Is it better to do so many or one? What lessons have you learned, and what can our listeners pick from that?
Yeah, and once again, and allow me also to say also to welcome those people who are also listening us outside Kenya. I think this is a privilege. But also going directly to what you've said, there's something that we always say that businesses are always innocent. Businesses are always very innocent. But the person who is never innocent is you. But because the question is, what type of script are you following for you to be able to learn, even if it's that one business? So, all I think I would say is whether you have the right script for you to be able to learn the business that is at hand. And what I have come to realize is that most of the time we follow the wrong script. And that script would maybe depend on either the partners you have, also maybe whether you have the right value proposition of what you are serving to the customer, or also, or even your mindset. Because most of the time, because businesses actually are meant to make us wealthy. But when that wealth starts, is another thing, because you may think that you want to get wealth the first day. And I think that was my biggest mistake, that feeling that the business are meant to make me rich the first day. And then you forget to concentrate on the right foundations. Yes, that's what I would say, Lucy.
In fact, I want to pick out from your last statement, that mistake where you thought that the businesses were supposed to make you rich. And I want to combine this question with what Tekunda is asking. Did you ever regret leaving formal employment along the way, now that you are starting to see that what you thought was not actually the reality on the ground?
So I will answer that question in two ways. Number one, personally, of course, I don't regret leaving my employment, because I'm still trying to discover myself, and I'm still realizing that there is a fire I have, a fire that really is reminding me there is a better vision that I had seen, and I need to continue building it up. And actually, on the way, I've also come also to acquaint myself with the people who have also grown and realized that it's only that I didn't have this from the word go. Building a business is like building or growing a child. If you are able to work with a child for 12 years up to when they can become a teenage, actually in Kenya we usually talk about 18 years. I think it's only that we are sometimes a bit selfish. We expect too much from the business, and then we rush to condemn it. So personally, I don't regret, but I think what has brought me to that is I've also made sure that I've been able to connect with the people who have been on this journey, and they have given me more information, and so I don't regret. But having said that, another thing that I've also come to realize is you can also be a business of yourself. If you are employed and you believe that you have very good intellectual skills, and you can be able to negotiate your intellectual skills with your employer, you don't have to really pressure yourself and feel inadequate. If you are a professional, you can grow yourself to a professional who can be able to negotiate better deals with their employer. So I think it's a matter of Who are you? Who are you? Which ministry are you in as part of your life? And have you really discovered the mission upon which God created you to serve on this earth? Yeah, I think that's what I would say.
Fantastic. There are two aspects that you've brought out very clearly there. Number one is understanding who you are, whether you are an entrepreneur or you are an employee. In whichever capacity you're operating in, just understanding who you are is very, very critical for you to be able to realize success. Now, the question connected to that is, as you are learning across, as we went through the journey of entrepreneurship, which areas did you feel that most entrepreneurs concentrate on and they should not be concentrating on, but that they should be putting more emphasis in another area? Maybe they are kind of ignoring, and that is why perhaps they are not realizing the success rate that they were expecting. What is the mistakes they're making, and what should they be doing differently?
Thank you, Lucy. I think just to answer that question, I would want to first say that I'm also advantaged because when I realized the mistake that I did in my startups and micro business, I also developed passion to coach micro businesses people. So I also find myself very happy when I'm connecting with the mama bogas and getting to see what is in their mind and how are they learning their business. So answering your question in two aspects. That is in terms of a small business and in terms of maybe a middle level business. For a small business, I think the key thing is that people really concentrate on looking at what other people are doing. Maybe you are just doing a small boutique, and then you really get consumed by what your neighbors are doing, and you really also get consumed by the roadside words or the roadside information instead of really starting to discover yourself in a way that can you really become very clear on what you want to give the customer. Because who is your employer and who is going to be the key determinant by the end of the day? And that's where you realize that a small hotel somewhere would be getting so much or so many customers, whereas on the same lane, another bigger hotel cannot even be able to afford or cannot be able to afford those customers. So I think to answer that question is small businesses most of the time, they concentrate on what is happening and what they can see happening by their own eyes without concentrating on the key paramount thing. What did I start the business to offer to the customer? You may not be able to discover it the first time, but as you move along, are you able to refine it and become very clear about that? That is on small businesses. On a little bit medium term businesses, the biggest challenge I think is people getting or the founders getting trapped into the money that they've been making. And they forget that this business can only remain for long if they set up sustainability structures or pillars. And this is where you start realizing that someone who is making maybe 100 million can wake up one day and say, I want to build a 20 million house. And you're just saying, I want to build a 20 million house from the business money. It's not that, I mean, you just get trapped on the fact that you can see money is flowing. Then you forget that you've got to actually make this cow become more fat and be more supported and all that. By the end of the day, you realize, I think the business is already struggling. So, yeah, those are the two aspects that I would say people concentrate on that maybe they may not, they may want to concentrate on something else.
Okay, fantastic. So yes, you mentioned that with small businesses, they don't actually focus on the value they're offering their customers, and therefore perhaps that value gets lost in the many activities and many tasks they're trying to handle. And then the other one you also mentioned was about maybe the delivery model, is it?
Yeah, yeah.
The yeah,
The, the,
the
the,
bigger. Mhm.
the bigger business.
Yes, the bigger businesses.
The bigger business is about the owner concentrating on, I mean, money, diverting the money and
Oh
not
yes.
really building the right support for the business to the next level.
Yeah, correct. Yes, the slightly bigger SMEs that
Yeah.
now they're taking the business money and allocating it to personal use and not even separating the two, and in the process the business becomes shaky. Maybe with those two problems that I've faced, maybe you could give us top three things that business owners, entrepreneurs, whether the small business owners or the medium size or even the big ones, what are the top three things that they need to concentrate on to ensure that their businesses grow and are more sustainable? We talked about sustainability. They don't concentrate on the sustainability because they are actually dividing themselves too thin and diverting the money elsewhere. What are these top three things they need to take care of so that they can actually thrive and grow their businesses to sustainable levels?
Yeah, good. I think for me, the three key items that I believe they are applicable to all the business.
Mm.
I would say number one is how you serve the customer, the operations. How are your operation set up? Because this is where you really meet the promise that you give to the customer. This is where your customer is really able to really experience what you promised them. And we usually call this the journey, the customer journey. You see, immediately if you are in a business, or if even if the customer entry to your business is through a phone call and they are just making an inquiry, and up to the time the customer have said thank you, or up to the time the customer will just say, okay, I just got an average service. So how have you designed those operations to ensure that they are all aligned to make the customer happy? And I'll just give one example. If you look at a hospital, just a private hospital, sometimes you realize that a customer may may enter into the business, and then the customer make a deposit, and then later the customer would require to get their deposit back, either because they never got the full service or something like that. When they were making the deposit, they were maybe given a receipt within 2 minutes. But you find the same hospital, when a customer is looking for their deposit back, they can wait for even 1 week. Of course, those are elements that will never make your customer happy at all, at all. And this, we usually call them the touch points. The moment you cannot be able to look at where you are losing the customer energy within your operation, then the next thing you realize is that anytime customer enters into your business, leaves there very exhausted. And that is one level. The other item is the aspect of the business money. The business money. We usually call it finance operations. Um, there has been a very big gap in most of the business, and mainly businesses that usually have opportunity to get cash maybe on a daily basis. You realize that most of the business owners get trapped into looking at what has been put into the pay bill today, what is in the till today, or something like that. But they can never be able to tie up this business money. It relates to what we actually call it the cash flow management, and it has affected so many businesses. I have witnessed some businesses that are even operating with a petty cash of up to even 200,000 per day. But when you look very keenly, you realize that they could even have been able to operate with a petty cash of even 20,000 per day. But because maybe they are in a high level cash generating goods, then, and the cash is always available, then they are never able to create value from the money they build. The third item, which I think is really very critical, is now, can you be able to paste your business in the next 2 to 5 years from where you are today? Are you able to really plan and create some activities that you are very clear they are connecting to a future you can imagine in the next immediate future and mid-term future and long-term future. And that's why most of the business always fight themselves firefighting because they never created the future they could imagine. So you find, and I have met many good founders who usually tells you, "Are you aware I have been operating this business for 10 years? And are you aware I have been surviving and all this with all this?" But looking at it, they the industry within which they are operating, businesses which are well organized are growing in a multiple of 10, whereas your business is just surviving. So that is the third item, Lucy, I would say is very critical in terms of ensuring that your business is sustainable.
Wow, fantastic. That was very exhaustive response to that question. And I want to combine the question I'm asking with one that has been put there by Caroline. What I've heard from you is that some of those things that businesses are not doing right are, for example, defining what are the customer touch points so that they're able to provide the proper service delivery. I've also heard about having the proper systems and having properly defined and designed operational models that can deliver efficiently over and over again to customers without actually having your customers getting disgruntled somewhere along the way just because your systems, internal systems, are not operating optimally. The other one I've heard is about finance operations or the cash flow management, which some of these organizations are not very clear on how they're managing their cash flow, and also the vision itself. How do they see their business 5 years to come? Do they have that vision? Have they written that vision down so that they're able now to move from step A, step B forward to actually implementing that vision properly? Now, what I've heard from you is that those are some of the challenges that small businesses are definitely facing because perhaps they lack the knowledge, or maybe they don't have someone to support them because maybe they can't pay a consultant, or maybe the leadership is oblivious to this. They're just pushing for money, 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 yet they don't have systems in place. Their customers are not well served and they're not even feeling it. So what Caroline is asking, some of these challenges, yes, do exist. What have you learned from your experience, and what has kept you pushing forward? Because every new business experiences all these things. No new business starts with a perfect system. But from your own experience, what have you learned along the way? How to keep, closing some of these loopholes and to be able to keep going and growing, to be able to optimally, get the operations in place?
Thank you, Lucy. I think sometimes I find this quite lovable. You see, I remember when I was doing my master's, I was still employed. And to get the time for that class was really very, very painful. Because as we know, employers will always expect that they are able to get full value for the salary they are paying you. And this one is what I've also come to realize when I come to the market and meet the entrepreneurs is that I think it's all a matter of mindset. And as we said, first trying to understand who are you. There's something that we usually say that if from the word go you cannot differentiate yourself between an entrepreneur and and a self-employed person, maybe you're just trying to get an opportunity to add an extra coin, which is very okay. But then if that is what you're looking for, then you should not really expect so much from that, because the moment you get that extra coin, you also need to realize there is a whole entrepreneurship that either you turn to become an entrepreneur, or then you decide, I am going to limit myself. If I get my few coins, I'm okay. So having established that is the baseline, differentiating yourself from either of the two, then you are ready to start committing yourself to learning. There's one thing that I think is overall in Africa. Africa, we are so much contained into education system. And I don't think our education system really gives us opportunity to learn entrepreneurship. And that's why most of people have really burnt a lot when they start or when they think they want to start entrepreneurship journey. So the key thing is, can you cut that journey maybe by ensuring that you can surround yourself with one or two people who can you can keep on investing with, and they can always keep on telling you. There's always something that I have come to realize. You if you can really realize you are the person who is going to run the business, you only take time to become the best person to run that business. It's not that the business takes time to grow, it's you who takes time to become the right person. And the moment you understand that, you now start concentrating on yourself more, the way you perceive the business, the way your mindset about the business is set. And then that is when you start realizing, I think I had a mindset that is also a little bit funny for myself. And I want to give an example about myself. When I was running a corporate transfer company, when I realized that I've gotten maybe five or so vehicles, then I started to I actually forgot myself all of a sudden that I now need to align the company to become a corporate that is able to be trusted by the customer. And by just forgetting that, because the more I continued to now get higher level customers, they could start sensing a very high level of gaps. And one of the key things that really brought me down was the fact that I could not assure security to these clients. Maybe actually there was some airport transfer that I was supposed to facilitate for AM. But beside that customer reaching airport on time, they also wanted another assurance. They wanted an assurance that I am safe at that time traveling or using your cab. And the fact that, and today when I look back, I realize I was the wrong person. My mind was totally limited and I could not have grown. What would I have done if I were to reverse that? I would actually have looked for even a coach, and I tell them this is where I want to go, and then they would have now started now telling me what are the next level pillars that I needed to build. And beside all that, the next thing I did was to think that the few coins I was getting, I can diversify even before I had mastered my first business. So I hope I have answered that.
Very, very well said. Um, and I have liked that almost the last part that you said, that people, it's not the business that is struggling to grow. It's actually you, the business owner, who is struggling to become the person that should be able to steer this vehicle or that business to the next level. So it's an issue of you, the business owner, and your team moving to the next level. And you have actually closed it by saying, in order for you to be able to change that mindset and to build yourself to be the right person to steer the vehicle to the next level, you may need a coach, a mentor, or somebody to support you. And so I don't know whether we have any questions from the floor, or we have something else to add before we throw questions to the floor. And Caroline is saying, I like the statement too. Thank you, sir, for the great inspiration. Any questions from the floor on what?
Lucy, I want
Yes.
to mention just one more statement. Kaidre, if you look at majority of the people who are doing small business, one of the issue allowed what you've actually just asked me is the information they rely on. And this one, I'm just trying to emphasize the need for the person you are working with. If you are in a market, in an open market that sells food, maybe you are only waiting for the people who surprise you, and they will also bring you an information that they would tell you, And I hope you are aware, by end of this month, carrots will not be enough. You have just automatically relied on bystanders, people who do not have any way to verify the information they give you. And then your pot, half of it or even 3/4, is full of information that literally is or cannot be relied upon at all at all. So if you don't have any other person who can really help you bounce your thought process, automatically you find yourself, you have denied very good opportunities. And that's why even you realize international organizations, they are still coming in our country and they are doing far much better in the villages that we understand better than ourselves. Thank you.
Fantastic. That is a very good aspect or angle you've brought in. The information as an entrepreneur, even as an employee, you're relying on to even build your career is very, very critical. You got to get that information from the source. Always have, a pinch of doubt when just someone shares information. Try and validate whether that information is correct and whether the source is reliable. And that's what you're telling us. The other point you also said is about having a sounding board, somebody you can bounce your thoughts on. And that one of the reasons why we have the GNE network is so that we can have an environment, a safe place where we can bounce off our ideas to one another, and we encourage one another and share some insights, because more often than not you can get stuck somewhere. And it's important when we meet on a Monday, you can come in and just say, I'm stuck here. Does anyone have an idea how this can be sorted? Maybe you're stuck with your tax returns for last year, and maybe the person who's been sorting you out is not doing the right thing. Maybe you've been caught up by Kenya Revenue Authority. So, this is a group where you can actually get ideas. So and so can at least help you. Or, and all that. Having a sounding board, having a mentor, a coach, having information from credible sources, extremely important. And thank you so much, Charles, for that last insight, which is pretty, kind of puts the icing on the cake. And so, yes, you can go ahead and do a conclusion for the topic for today. It's been very wonderful.
Okay, thank you very much, Lucy. Yeah, I think one of the things that I've come to really agree with through interaction with so many people is that businesses are always very innocent. And because here today we are talking about businesses, the key thing is who we are. And also, number two is that every business is scalable. And even today, actually, that's why we are all actually surprised by the type of the businesses that are actually being facilitated by technology and all that. And you realize a business that you never thought would become a business are really taking a very big share of the customers' preferences. So the key thing is, let us also believe in our businesses, but also again, let us also understand that we are creators. If you are an entrepreneur, you are a creator. The destination is not really defined by cash. Maybe you need to define your destination in a different way. And cash can only be the fruit that you continue harvesting in different seasons, like any tree. So just to also say that, Lucy, I usually I usually have a newsletter that I always write something that we call "How can you become better person in building your business?" It's called Discover Hadhi Yetu. And because I believe in Africa, our biggest resource is the entrepreneurs who have, actually the micro entrepreneurs who have not gotten employment through either the corporates, through their governments, and all that. I think we've been left being the key pillar that one day will shine, because we are the majority. So what do we need to do is only to continue now warming up and becoming better people. So, Lucy, can I now say what I do?
Yes, please do again. Go ahead.
Okay, good. Just to conclude and just to say now what I'm currently I do. I read that company called Signus. Signals Consulting, we help organizations achieve operational excellence or operational efficiency. And towards this line is all about helping organizations minimize or actually reduce the wastages that happens within the operations. Most of the organizations make sales, but the money get lost within their own operations and in huge amount. I think the biggest company that the company that we analyzed that had the biggest wastages was up to 40% of the operational cash they had invested in their operations, and that is a whole a lot of money. You can imagine if you are making 100 million, 40 million is money that you can recover back because you have been able to reduce or to eliminate wastages. And the other level is ensuring that productivity of people, productivity of machines that you have is able to make sure that you have optimally utilized it. For example, if you have a vehicle, you bought a vehicle maybe to help you do transfers of goods, and maybe you are only utilizing that vehicle for 2 hours in a day. Are you sure a machine of 1 million was meant to be operational for only 2 hours? That means there is a whole value that you have made dormant, and that would have been a cash that maybe you didn't even need that asset. Maybe you'd have leased an asset for those 2 hours, but for you, you decided to put a whole 1 million, 1 million in Kenya shillings. That's about $10,000 for the sake of those people who are not in Kenya. So that's what the two elements that we really help you bring out, and we have seen a lot of improvement from businesses out of the same effort that they do. And finally, we usually say you achieve a lot more for much more less effort. So, and also, as I had just said, I also do coaching to micro businesses just to make sure that I can help them start the journey for growth. Just raising the awareness and help them start the journey for growth. And that is actually a pet project I always love so much. It always takes me back that any big business started somewhere small, and it can always become better and better. Thank you very much. We can connect on social media handles and much more. Welcome to know each other much more. Lucy, thank you for this opportunity and for this platform. I believe, beside anything else, we will make a change through our businesses.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Let's give emojis and to Charles for a fantastic job in responding to your questions and also giving you a lot of insights to how businesses can perform better. And one thing I have picked as you are concluding, Charles, is that one needs to define a destination, because cash is a fruit of your harvest. So cash is actually not the first thing you think about, is actually what you harvest by inputting the right ingredients into your business. And the work that you do in supporting businesses, definitely for those who require support, we'll actually pick up your contacts if you can type them in the comment section. Otherwise, I don't have any other comment. Any input from the floor? Or can we bring the session to a close? Caroline is saying, amazing session, learned a lot. Thanks, Charles. Anyone else with a comment? Thank you very much. Charles is saying that. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. It's been a wonderful evening. I've enjoyed myself. Today it's been quite a lot of lessons learned. So without further ado, I want to bring the session to a close. Thank you so much. Have a good evening, and bye-bye for now.